Alright guys, so today we are talking about the top 5 reasons that weddings start late. If you're planning a wedding or you've attended a wedding, you've probably heard weddings always start late. Don't worry, they always start late. There's always a reason. First of all, I want to say they don't always start late. Weddings that we plan don't start late. So there's that. But more importantly, starting a wedding late means you are sacrificing part of your event. You may be sacrificing how much dancing time you can have. You may be sacrificing how much photo booth time, but you are sacrificing something for every minute that you are late. Or you may be sacrificing an extra hour fee. Your venue or your vendors may be charging extra fees if your event goes over. That's a loss, right? So for us, we take starting late very seriously, and so should you, because it's going to affect your pocket and your guest experience. So here are 5 reasons that weddings start late, and this is my ranking according to my experience planning events for over 15 years, planning weddings particularly for over 15 years. So number 5 reason is transportation. It is very common for a wedding to have a ceremony and reception in 2 different places, or even if the ceremony and reception are in the same place, you are getting ready in another place and then you have to come to the ceremony. So transportation can be a huge deal. A lot of times, for instance, people may choose to skip getting a limo or organized transportation because of the cost, but that can cause you to be late if it's not well organized. And I'm talking down to the nines, meaning if you have a large bridal party, being very clear about who's ordering which Uber and who is going with who ahead of time so that everybody knows exactly what to do and you're not figuring it out in a moment. A lot of times when you're trying to figure it out in the moment, that's time lost. If it takes 30 minutes to agree on who's going with who and who's ordering what, you just lost 30 minutes on your wedding day schedule, literally. So you have to plan out the logistics of exactly how your transportation is going to go. Again, we recommend renting a Sprinter van, party bus, limo, something like that. But if you don't want to, being very clear, okay, car number 1 is going to contain this person, this person, this person. Car number 2 is going to contain this person, this, getting very clear so that when it's time to go, everybody knows exactly what they need to do, carries their stuff, puts it in the right car, and we go. Okay? So that's reason number 5, and that's how to resolve it. Reason number 4 that weddings start late, definitely setup time. And what I mean by that is, should I say it? Some vendors do not adhere to the times that you give them. Some vendors are notoriously late. If you tell them that they need to be done setting up at 7 o'clock, at 7 o'clock, they're still setting up, they're still finishing up or clearing boxes or whatever the case is. So I want to say that when you're communicating with your vendors, you got to give a little bit of buffer time. If you really, really, really want to start having guests come in and sit down at 7 o'clock, maybe tell them they need to be done at 6:45 or even 6:30. You need to set those expectations up front to make sure that there's no reason to start late because of setup time. Also, realistically speaking, if people just finish setting up at 7 p.m., even if people are on time, and then people are trying to walk in at the same time that setup completed, it's just too tight. It's too much on top of each other. So you want to make sure that you have adequate buffer time in everything. This is something that can be tricky to do on your own. This is why for big projects, people hire project managers, and for weddings, people hire wedding planners. Our wedding details package will help you with this and help you with not only coming up with those timelines, but helping you to communicate that with each vendor. Another reason that weddings start late, 3, is family. A lot of times, family will cause your wedding to start late. We've seen parents show up as late as an hour after we asked them to show up for a wedding. 1 hour. Imagine what that means. If you're planning to have a 30-minute ceremony, 1 hour cocktail hour, and then your reception, and your family member that you don't want to start without doesn't show up until 1 hour after the time we asked them to be there, you've lost an hour in your, you're literally so far behind. It's frustrating. One of the things that I have to be honest about, wedding planning is a time to maybe exercise some of your boundaries with your family and also your communication skills. Being able to let people know, hey, you have to be here at this time. And if you are not there, we're going to start without you. Helping people to see, if you want to see me walk down the aisle, say my vows, you have to be here at this time. And particularly if you're doing things with your family, like photos and stuff like that before the wedding starts, that's an even earlier time that you have to tell them to be there. Again, with our wedding details package, we do create those emails and we do create that communication plan for your family members for them to know exactly what they need to do for your wedding day to go smoothly. So this isn't something you have to come up with on your own, but it's important for you to know your family can be the reason that you start late, particularly if you don't communicate clearly up front. You know, one thing that I always say is that there are 2 times that you can be disappointed. You can frustrate people by communicating clearly up front, or you can be the one frustrated when people don't do what you need them to do on the wedding day. It's better to be really clear up front, like, hey, this is what I need. This is what we need. This is how we're going to be proceeding on that wedding day. And this is how we want you to participate. Then to wait until afterwards to say, oh, well, when I said this is what I really meant. Or, you know I never said it, but I just thought you knew that you had to be there at this time. Instead of making assumptions, communicate very clearly, particularly with family and friends, because not only is it important for them to be there on the wedding day, it's important for you to maintain positive relationships with them well past the wedding day. So clear communication is kind, and it helps people to understand exactly what they need to do and where they need to be. And that's one of the huge things that we do for you with wedding details. Now, number 2 is just random hiccups, wardrobe malfunctions, crying. This isn't quite a hiccup, but crying, let's say you do a dress reveal with your dad or your mom and there's an emotional moment. Now you got to get your makeup touched up. Guess what? That all those things take time. Occasionally you might even get sick. We had a wedding where we were running way ahead of schedule, and then we had our bride, she just started feeling sick. She just was like, I just need a moment. And she took her moment, and believe it or not, the wedding was back on schedule, but we went from being ahead of time to being on schedule because she fell sick for a minute and just needed 30 minutes of just silence and just quiet and laying down. These are all real things that happen on a wedding day, on a high stakes day, on a day that you're excited. These are real things that happen. And the best way to guard against all of this is to have adequate buffer time throughout your wedding day. I spent a lot of time on Reddit. I spent a lot of time on Facebook groups, seeing what a lot of past brides say. And so many people say that they wish that they had a more realistic timeline. They wish they had more time planned on their wedding day for different activities. They wish they knew how long certain things were going to take, and they wish they knew how much buffer time to put. Instead of wishing afterwards and being regretful on your wedding day, you can just get the advice of a wedding planner up front and make sure that you have that already built in. Like I said, we've had all kinds of scenarios. We've had a scenario where father of the groom came 30 minutes late to the ceremony, and we still ended the wedding on time. We've had scenarios where, like I just said, a bride got sick and just needed like literally half an hour to herself of just quiet, and we still started the wedding on time and ended it on time and had plenty of time for dancing. These are real scenarios which come with expertise. In the same way, again, that you hire a project manager to make sure your project goes smoothly no matter what. This is what we do for you as your wedding project managers at Wedding Details. And now for the number 1 reason that weddings start late. The number 1 reason is the first thing that happens on your wedding day, which is hair and makeup. I know you probably didn't see that coming, but hair and makeup is the number 1 reason that weddings start late. And it's understandable. Most makeup artists, most hairstylists are not there for the entire day to see how whatever happens in the morning impacts the rest of the day. They just know that you look beautiful, that you felt good. They don't see the way the rest of the day went. And so a lot of people are not the best with time management. Just think about just your regular life. When you go to your lash lady, when you go to your nail tech, when you go to the hair salon, are you always in and out on time? Or do you feel like you are usually running late? That in and of itself should answer the question as to why hair and makeup has a tendency to run late, particularly if you have a really large bridal party, and especially if you are penny pinching on things like booking extra makeup artists or paying for early arrival times and stuff like that. Those are the things that cause weddings to run really, really, really late. And if you really think about it, if hair and makeup ends up being 2 hours behind, what do you think is going to happen to the rest of the day? So one of the things that I always share is that for us, our philosophy about wedding planning is start to finish. Literally from when you wake up in the morning to when we're done cleaning up and the venue locks up. The reason we comb through all of that is to make sure that everything is covered, including your hair and makeup schedule. And we put a lot of effort into that, honestly, when we are creating your wedding details timeline. It's really important to us. It's not like an after the fact. It's not just like a whatever thing. That is part of your event, and it's a huge part of the reason that weddings do start late. Of course, there are some amazing beauty professionals who start and end on time. They're very professional, but there are some who are just kind of like, like the only thing I care about is that you feel good and that you look good. And so we try to make sure that we are creating timelines that account for both types to make sure that you are feeling good, looking good, and you also make it to your wedding on time. So you're not losing precious time that you've paid for. I want to be honest with you that just hiring a day of coordinator is not going to fix this problem. Just having someone on site who's just watching everything run late and just watching your makeup artist take more time than they said they needed to. This isn't a problem you fix on site. None of the problems I'm listing now are fixed on site. All of these are fixed well ahead of time with planning and communication. And with that, this is why we created Wedding Details, and this is why we hope that you consider us as your wedding planner moving forward. All right, so I hope that this is helpful for you. Again, the reasons that weddings start late: inadequate transportation planning, having your vendors run late on setup time, having your family run late on showing up. Number 2 is just different hiccups, whether it's a wardrobe malfunction, whether it's crying because it's an emotional day, which is a beautiful thing, by the way. Having to have touch-ups because you were crying, all of that sorts of stuff. And the number 1 reason is your hair and makeup running behind, okay? Which is actually quite common. It's very, very, very common. All right, so I hope that this has been helpful for you. If you like this video, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and share this with a friend who this might be helpful for, all right? So we look forward to seeing you in a future video. And most importantly, we're here to help. We're here to literally make sure that you don't suffer any of these things through Wedded Details. So make sure you visit us at weddeddetails.com, learn more about our classic package, and we'll be happy to help you, all right? So cheers and enjoy the rest of your day.